Welcome to Truckers Voices Podcast. Your host, Tim Taylor, and co-host, Steve Brand. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
This is Danny Smith. Just calling to tell you how much I appreciate listening to your show, Truckers Voices. It's very informative. I really like hearing the drivers' stories, how they got into the trucking industry and maybe what kind of trucks they started out with. And it's just been a lot of fun, and I would encourage any drivers out there to tune in and listen, call in, be a part of it. It's a great show. Thanks.
Hi, this is Scott Post, and I love Truckers' Voices because there's always something entertaining and educational for our industry. And it's also hosted by two of my good friends, Tim Taylor and Steve Brand. Tune in tonight. And in the meantime, be safe out there.
Hey everybody, how you doing tonight? My name's Charlie Demchuk, and I'm here to welcome you to tonight's big show. Y'all sit back, relax, enjoy the show. Tim and Steve got a good one in store for you. So have a good night. We'll see ya.
Hi, we just finished a Touch a Truck event in Oakdale, Minnesota, and I'd like to say Minnesota loves Truckers' Voices.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's doing good tonight. I hope you had a good day of trucking out there. And as I always say, a good day of trucking is any day that we get home to our families safe. Hey, I want to welcome everybody tonight to the Truckers Voices page tonight. We appreciate you tuning in. We got a special show for you tonight. We got a gentleman by the name of Mr. Randy Broderick. He's going to be joining us here in just a few minutes. But first of all, I'm going to bring in that old other guy, Mr. Steve Brand, and we're going to see how his day went in trucking today. But y'all hang tight. Y'all buckle up, buckle those seatbelts, because we got a great show for you tonight. So here we are. We're coming into the pre-trip part of the show.
Well, hello, everybody. How you doing? How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing good, Steve. How did your day go today?
It went good. Went good. Got out on time. Had a little backup this morning going in Columbus, but hey, we made it through. They got everything cleaned up. We just buzzed right on up there, met our meat driver, got back safe and sound. That's the key right there. Most important trip home.
That is the most important trip, is trip home. So, Steve, tell me a little bit about Mr. Randy Broderick. You kind of live up there in Ohio. I know Randy well, but tell me a little bit about Randy, what you know about him. And remember, he's in the green room. He can hear everything you're saying right now.
Might be in trouble. No, I've known Randy for several years. Let's say I've been at FedEx 26 years. I've probably known Randy ever since then. Randy lives up the road a couple hours up at Mansfield. Great guy. Great competitor in the TDCs. He's an airplane pilot too. Hey, the only problem is he's got a small plane. I'm a big guy. I don't know if I'd fit, but no, Randy's got a lot to tell. Good guy. Knows a lot about the trucking industry, rules, regulations, stays up on it. And why do I look like I'm sitting sideways?
I have no idea. Maybe you're leaning sideways. Maybe you need to shift your load a little bit. It's called load securement, Steve.
Is that what it is?
It's load securement, man. Everything.
I got to get me a seatbelt. I got to get a seatbelt to come across here. I might fall out of my seat. I don't know.
Hey, you know what we need to do? You know what we need to do? We need to get us some chairs for this podcast right here, especially this podcast, and we need to get us a gear shifter on the side so we can, feel like we're in the old school there, right?
Gear shifter. You mean that little thing you push a button that says D and R and N?
Well, yeah, that's what we call it these days. But hey, sometimes I long for the old days, of shifting and getting,
I do too until I get in stop and go traffic, and then I really like my automatic. I really do.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's I wouldn't mind going back to old school every now and again. Kind of like last week we was talking about the old cab overs. That'd be interesting.
Exactly.
But
speaking of cab over, I got a video I will share with you in the near future, or you can go on Reels and look at it. I posted the other day. I seen a cab over down in Dade City, Florida earlier this week, and I did a reel and a TikTok on it. It was pretty doggone good. Looking truck there. I mean, I just had to stop and do a little bit of a video there on it. But man, I really do. I love the old cab overs. I just love the old school look. They just, I don't know, it's nostalgic to me.
I run up towards Cleveland, then I hook a right turn and go out there at Lodi, and then I head out towards Pennsylvania. And I tell you what, them old cab overs are coming back. I see them pulling the rail containers. There's one guy, excuse me, pulls a flatbed, got an old Kenworth. He's fixed up. Man, I tell you what, that's them sweet. Them guys got some money in them though.
No doubt.
I'm telling you.
Well, I tell you what, I think we got the pre-trip on this show done already. So let's go ahead and let's bring our special guest in here, Mr. Randy Broderick. If y'all will just bear with me for a minute. I got something right here I need to pull up, and then I'll bring Randy right into the broadcast. Steve, go ahead and say something to the audience about Trucker Appreciation Week real quick.
Well, I was going to bring that up. This week is Truck Driver Appreciation Week, and I just want to say thank you to all the drivers, and I really want to say thank you to all the families, because you guys go through a lot. You give up a lot to give up us truck drivers, whether it's mom or it's dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, and uncle. So thank you to the family, but really thank you to all the drivers. They go above and beyond. And I think we just found that out the last couple of years during COVID. So, well, hello, Mark. How you doing, Mark Spencer? Good to see you in there.
Yeah, absolutely. The drivers do go above and beyond. Well, without further ado, let's bring our special guest in here, Mr. Randy Broderick.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Randy, welcome to the Truckers Voices podcast tonight, man. We appreciate having you tonight.
I'm happy to be here.
Glad you could join us. We've been looking forward to this night, wanting to talk to you and kind of get a scoop on how you got into the trucking industry. But before we do that, let's find out a little bit about you in general. So, okay. Randy, tell us, we know who you are, but tell us where you're from, anything, where you grew up, how you got to where you're at, just anything you want to share with the audience in general.
I live in Shelby, Ohio, which is, 12 miles from Mansfield. Mansfield's where I work out of. Been in the industry. My first job was in 92. That's when I got my CDL, my first job. And let's see, Steve said I fly airplanes. That's a hobby of mine. I'm the vice president of my local school board. I'm involved in 2 other aviation groups that gives away scholarships. So I enjoy doing that.
All right. Cool. So we'll drill down into some of that in just a little bit. So, in a sense, Randy, how long have you been into the in the trucking industry?
Well, like I said, in 92 is when I got my CDL, and I had a buddy of mine who, after we graduated, he went in the Army. He moved up to Alaska. He was up there running heavy equipment. I'm not sure what they were doing. But when he came back, when he got out of the Army, he came back. I noticed there was a semi-tractor parked in his driveway quite a bit. And I stopped over one day to visit with him, shoot the breeze. And he had a big orange cab over sitting there. And And I asked him how he liked doing that new job. He said he loved it. And I wanted to see the inside of his truck. I'd never seen the inside of a semi before at that time. So we walked out in his driveway and climbed up in that big old orange 9670 International and looked around, and I thought that was pretty cool. At the time, I was working in a grocery store, not making a whole bunch of money. I thought I'd like to learn how to do that. So he pointed me in the direction of the school that trains for this company, and the company hires you out of school. So that's how I got my foot in the door in trucking.
All right. So over the years, how have you seen trucking change for the good or the for the good? I'm not even going to say the bad because trucking is a great industry.
When I started, I was over the road, so I did that for a year and a half, and it was the work. I was not.
Oh, something happened. We done lost Tim and Randy. There's Randy. I don't know where Tim went. Go ahead and continue, Randy.
Okay. So I was over the road. That didn't, I just had just recently been married, had a young one on the way, and it took a lot out of me. I mean, no cell phones back then. I had to make a point to stop every night at a rest area or truck stop that had a payphone on the wall, and then stand there for 20 minutes, half an hour, which I mean that was the only time I got to spend with my wife. So I didn't like it, and I liked the driving, but I didn't like the being gone 7 days in a row. So I ended up, when I'd come home on the weekends, I'd grab myself a newspaper is what I'd do. And I'd take it with me. And while I was out on the road, while I was getting loaded or unloaded someplace I had time, I'd call, look at one ad, just looking for anything to get me off the road. I mean, over the road's great if that's your lifestyle, but it conflicted with mine greatly. So I ended up finding a job. Actually, it was a contact that I was made when I worked at the grocery store. So it was a beer company. I took care of the beer. They'd bring it into the store, and I'd stock the cooler and stuff like that. And I knew the delivery guy. So this delivery guy, I got a hold of him and asked him if they were doing any hiring. And he said, yeah, they needed a driver. And that was 5 days a week, delivering beer, grocery stores, gas stations, whatever. And that's how I got off the road. I did that for about a year and a half. And then I had another friend of mine call me about an LTL job with American Freightways. And he wanted to know if I wanted to come away from the beer job for that. And, beer's heavy. Kegs are heavy. That was a lot of work. And I wasn't a big guy. I was 130 pounds, maybe 140 at that time. And I jumped on the chance, and I've been here for the past, I had a 27-year anniversary in July. So I'm just starting my 28th year with these guys.
Okay. So, so you've been, go ahead.
Oh, I guess I got off track there a little bit about how it's changed over the years.
Correct.
The technology I like in the truck. I remember when I started with the LTL, I had a stack of paper maps, and it was so difficult trying to find addresses. I could find roads and get a rough idea where I was, but I like my Google Maps. I don't rely on them 100%, but that's great. When I'm going someplace I haven't been before, I can get an aerial view, see how big their yard is, see if I can get in there and get turned around, that type of thing. When I was doing the over the road, we didn't have any of that. I had an address, and I had a Rand McNally Road Atlas, and I had to find the place. And when you're in, I was in Hunts Point a couple times, which I didn't like that at all. delivering freight down there. That was unpleasant.
You didn't like pulling up to a stoplight and the guy jumps up on your truck and starts cleaning your windows looking for a buck or two.
You've been there.
Yeah.
Yep. He wants to give me directions. I had a guy jump up on the side of my truck. He says, "Where are you going?" And he says, "I want to give you directions." He says, $20 or something like that. I don't know. So I gave him money. I was waiting on him to jump off the truck and just leave, but that would have made me happy too. But he hung on the side of the truck, got me into where I needed to be. Cost me $20. But
did you ever run Laredo, Texas?
I possibly that was 30 years ago.
The only reason I bring that up is you talk about they jump up on your truck looking for directions. Well, go to Laredo, Texas. Now, mind you, I've been here 26 years, so several years ago, but go to Laredo, Texas, and I'm looking for a business. Can't find it. Everything's running in squares. Nobody speaks English until you pull out a $5 bill, and the guy talks English better than I am right now. You know, I mean, it's funny. I mean, you're where is this place? You go, no comprende. You pull out a $5 bill and say, go down here and hook a right turn. You're right there.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So you guys are going to have to educate me a little bit. Scott, in the comments, Scott Post put on there, Hunts Point is a rite of passage. Tell me a little bit about Hunts Point.
Oh, it's a big thing down there is produce docks, produce market. So I wasn't hauling produce. I pulled a dry van. I can't remember what I hauled in there though. But that's known for produce market. It's just right outside. It's in the Bronx. It's in the Bronx borough. It's not the best part of town in the Bronx. So you go in at night. I was told by other drivers, people that had been around in the industry for a while. I was brand new. They told me go in at night when there's no traffic. Don't stop for stoplights. If you stop, they're going to jump on your truck. I slowed down at all of them. There might have been a few I rolled through if it looked a little sketchy, but I was a little guy. I wasn't that big, and I just I felt uncomfortable. So, but yeah, I'd been to Hunts Point twice, and that was 2 times too many.
Right.
Now, what they would also do to you, Tim, is they would back up to you while you're at a stoplight, run a cable through your door handles, and have it hooked on the back of their pickup. And when you went forward, they went forward, pull your doors off, and just start unloading whatever you got in your truck, whether it's meat, vegetables, fruit, or like Randy said, dry box. Whatever. I picked up a load of aviator jackets back in the early 90s when the aviator jacket was big. Yeah, I had a police escort out of there.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's definitely, and I'm sure it's changed now, and it's maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. But they said that I think they used to say 24-hour period of trucks shutting down in New York City would be a disaster. They'd be out of everything.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that just goes to how valuable trucking, and truck drivers are.
Right.
I agree. I love trucking. I wasn't a fan of the over the road. I've been sticking with it. I've been 30 years in the industry now, and I love every minute of it.
Right.
Well,
right.
that's awesome. And I tell you, you're running the city, and this all works hand in hand. If it wasn't for you city guys picking it up, and it wasn't for the dock workers moving it across the dock, line haul couldn't do what they wanted to do. Truckload carriers couldn't do it. So we all work together.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is it's just like cogs in a wheel. We just all work together. And like you said, you was out there a year and a half, 2 years. It is a very rough life. It's hard on the family life. It's hard on the body. It's You talk about the payphones. I used to call home twice a week, Wednesday nights and Saturday nights.
Mm-hmm.
And that was rough. And, couldn't you imagine if we had back then one of these that you could do a FaceTime?
Yeah. I was 25 years old when I was doing that. And it just seems crazy because I've got a 29-year-old and a 23-year-old, and I couldn't imagine them. I get nervous when they say they're going to Columbus for something.
Yeah. Exactly.
So on the screen here, Kathy Spencer. I think it's Mark Spencer.
It's Mark. Yeah.
Yeah, he's logged in under Kathy. But anyway, he said, amen. It takes a team, and that's absolutely true. It does take a team, and running OTR back then and versus today. The good thing about it is where we've come from then to where we are now. There's so many different options now. It is one thing is probably you can do it regional. You can, if you want to, you can actually choose what you want to do in this industry now. It just is just OTR all the time. If you want to come and go, local, you can go local. I mean, it's just it's out there, and I love it because the industry is evolving, and it's actually meeting the needs of our society right now.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, let's get on into your daily routine there, Randy. You work for a major LTL company, and just tell us how Randy's day starts out and how Randy's day ends.
All right, I'm gonna preface that, if you don't mind, Tim,
I don't
just
mind.
for a second, with letting everybody know Tim's been inviting me on this show for a long time, and that's how my day starts. Okay, my day starts at 3:15 every day. It's when my alarm clock goes off, and the show starts at 8. And so if you can do the math, 8 to 3:15, that's like 7 hours worth of sleep, roughly 7.25. And I'm a big proponent of driver getting the rest that they need. Man, years ago when I was younger, I might get a little bit less sleep, stay up later, and just getting drowsy when you're driving. It just scares the heck out of me. I don't want to do that. So that's why I have not been able to be on your show up until now. But I'm on vacation this week, and I'm just tickled pink to be here. But anyways, my day starts at 3:15. My alarm goes off. I get up. My wife gets up with me. She helps me. We pack a lunch, make food for me to take to eat. I'm never around some place to eat when I want to be, and it gets expensive doing that all the time anyway. So I pack a lunch every day. I fix myself some breakfast. I sit down at the table and eat. I take a shower, get dressed, and I got about a 20-minute ride to work or so. So I start at 5. I'm a P&D driver. I start off at 5 in the morning. I do switches. My first switch is an hour away. It's a nice little ride. It's still dark.
Hold on. Tell us what switches are.
Okay. I'm sorry. A switch. Okay. When I get to work, I'll pull an empty 53-foot van out of the yard, and I go to this customer. They're an hour away. I take them an empty. I put the empty up to their dock door, and they have another dock door there that's got one of our trailers in it that they loaded the day before. So I will pull that trailer back. I switch trailers. I switch an empty one for a full one. When I hook that full trailer, sometimes it's clear full, sometimes it's partial. If it's partial, they will send me out to make early pickups in that area. And there's a lot of places that have early pickups. I always come back full. Sometimes I come back right after the switch. Sometimes I got to make 3 or 4 stops on the way back, but I've always come back with a full 53-footer. When I get back with that first trailer, I'll do some other switches. We got some other customers that we might get 6-8 trailers out of a day, and I can probably do 2 of those switches at that customer as well. And then this is early afternoon. By this time, they send me out with an empty and just start making pickups. So I'll make 8-10 pickups after that, and then my day's usually over between, I'm gonna say, right about 4 o'clock these days. So that's my day.
I hear you. So, what is in Mansfield, Ohio, the industry there? What is your main industry in Mansfield, Ohio?
Boy, Mansfield's got a bunch of small industries right around the corner from. Let me give you an idea of what some of our major customers are who we haul a lot of freight into. Gorman Rupp Pump Company. It's actually one street over from where our terminal is. We usually take man, a lot of freight to them every day. They make pumps. There are several other pump manufacturers within the surrounding communities that will pick up freight at also. Pumps seem to be a big thing in the region of Ohio that I live in. We've got a big customer down in Lexington that makes plastic bags. That's the customer we will get 6 trailers or so a day out of full of plastic. They're a big industry down there too. And then we've got just a bunch of very regular but little customers. They don't, some of them don't have docks, but you're in there every single day. They'll bring the freight out and set it on the back of the trailer. I've always got a pallet jack with me on that last trailer of the day when I know I'm going to go out and be making pickups. So Mansfield's not totally geared around one specific industry. We've got a couple big players but a lot of them are just small mom and pops shops.
I got you. I know that I asked you a question. It's kind of funny to me, but I asked you a question. I don't know if you remember this. It's been maybe a couple months ago.
Yeah.
I went to the restroom somewhere and I looked on the urinal and I seen Mansfield on there. And I asked Randy, I said, "Hey man, does your town make the urinal?" And he said, matter of fact, they do.
There's a company called Mansfield Plumbing, and if you look around, you go in a public men's room, you'll see Mansfield on quite a lot of the toilets. So believe it or not, Mansfield Plumbing is no longer in Mansfield. They're in Perrysville, which is a town half an hour away from our terminal, but they're still within our service area. So they've got a pottery plant down there. And they make the toilets down there and just ship trailer loads of them out.
Okay.
They do a lot of stuff for hotels and stuff like that. I'll pick up a big shipment from them every now and then. 10 pallets with 100 and some odd toilets going to a brand new hotel they're building. So.
Wow. So let me clarify, listening audience to us tonight. So when I see a Mansfield, Ohio, a Mansfield toilet or whatever, I'm not thinking about Randy. I just knew Randy could answer my question there. So I don't want y'all to call me tomorrow or whenever you talk to me and say, "Hey, you think about Randy when you go to the bathroom?" No, I don't.
It's right there in front of you, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's right there in front of you. Go ahead, Steve.
Randy, I got a question.
Yeah.
The last time I was in Mansfield, there was, I won't say several, but there's low overpasses. There was truck routes,
Mm-hmm.
And that's just and I don't want to say Mansfield's a small town because it's a rather large town. Do you endure that quite a bit? I mean, I know at our company, we've got the small, what I refer to as like a mailbox trailer. It's low profile.
We've got one of those.
Do you does that occur on your routes a lot? I mean,
there are several. There's only one low bridge that I can't get under, and it's like 12 foot. So, and people get stuck under that every day. It's crazy. They got all kinds of warnings ahead of time, and people still drive their box trucks underneath there and get them wedged. There are several other bridges that are all marked 13.6 that I've been going under for over 2 decades, and they're a little bit higher than 13.6. You never have a problem getting underneath any of them, but just there's only the one that I can't get under, and they've got a truck route posted. And in my job, I get paid by the hour, which means I have got the time to do things the right way in a safe way. I follow the truck routes. I don't go cutting down through neighborhoods or thinking I can, get somewhere else. I take my time and I do it right. I want to come back with the truck in the same shape it was when I left. And there's, like I said, there's just that one bridge in Mansfield, and it's easy to get around. You just follow the truck route. You go out of the way 2 blocks, and you're on the other side.
Right. Now, I know Mansfield's up there in Morrill County, up in that snow belt, all up in that way, going up that way, like Western New York. They mark their bridges for snow time. So, I mean, it's the middle of we're in September. It's beautiful. It's sunny and 75. You come up on a bridge and it's say 12.6. And I mean, you see all the black marks. But then, you know, I mean, we're talking almost 30 years ago, the first time that happened to me, and a guy started laughing. He said, apparently you ain't from around here. I said, no. He said, we mark our bridges due to snowpack. So how much trouble do you have up there in that snow belt, getting around and things like that?
I do the best I can. I haven't run into snow that has been so deep I wasn't able to pass. If I thought it was going to be that bad, I wouldn't leave the yard. You know, I'd have to talk with my manager, and he'd, you know, he's decided to pull the guys back in, especially if there's like a blizzard warning coming or something like that. But he just, when it comes to snow, it doesn't. Our 13.6 bridges that are marked are probably closer to 14 foot, so the snow doesn't affect that much.
Right.
But again, you know, I take my time every day. If it's snowing out, if the weather conditions deteriorate, I just slow down, be a little more safety conscious, and make sure that I keep the truck in my lane and plenty of following distance behind the guy ahead of me. But we get a fair amount of snow every year. We do.
Right. How much trouble do you have in the wintertime and even the flooding season, early spring, late fall, trying to get in these docks that they haven't plowed them out, water's, you know, axle deep, then they want you to go put a chalk block in, you know, just how much of that do you occur, and how much does your customers work with you, you know, to help you out on that situation, trying to get in a dock, can't get in a dock, stuff like that?
I don't usually have a lot of trouble. I mean, I don't mean to sound, I don't know how you'd say, I don't have any real difficulty getting around. If there's you know, a dock's flooded or something like that, I'll grab a chalk and chalk the steer tire or the drive tire on the tractor. You know, if there's no chocks available and they tell me they need a chalk, I invite them to fish one out of the pond. But I do everything the safe way. They want the trailer's chalk there. If I see a wheel chalk laying there, I'll roll it up behind the trailer tire. If I can't access the trailer tire due to a flooded dock, I'll put one up behind a drive tire, steer tire, the first tire I can get to that's not in the water.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, these are all interesting questions for like guys like myself that are line haul. We don't endure that. And I just, it's really neat to talk to you city guys that are in and out of docks multiple times a day. What's an average day for you? 10, 15 pickups, 20?
Possibly. Yeah. I've done 20. 20 is a heavy day. It usually around 15, 12 to 15 in that last trailer when I'm making all those stops. But when my switches, you know, a switch take you a while. The one switch I have in the mornings is an hour down. I swap trailers. That takes me half an hour. I got to update 20, 25 bills in our handheld computers, and then I got another hour back. So I mean, that first one takes about 3.5 hours total time for me.
Right.
When it comes to city driving, Steve, I love it. It gives me an opportunity to hone my craft. I mean, if you don't challenge yourself, you don't get any better. You just don't. I've got so many places I go to that they've got plenty of room for me to blindside into a dock. It's easy. They've they've got some tight yards, but I've been going in and out of the same yards for 27 plus years now, and I'm used to them. I know the tricks. I know how to approach them. I'd probably be in a little more hot water if I went into an area I'd never been into and had to figure it out the first time. But the job has gotten so much easier for me over the years because I'm so used to. I mean, I've been going to the same places for that long.
Right.
I enjoy it. Again, like I said, I challenge myself. If I've got room and I've got time and it's nobody behind me and it's totally safe, I blindside into the dock just to do it.
Right.
You know,
and that goes back to Tim's early question with modern technology nowadays. it's so much easier than what it was when you first started, because you have that phone in your hand that you can do a Google Earth or whatever, and look around and everything. So
Yeah.
Tim, go ahead. I've been kind of hogging the mic here. Go ahead, buddy.
No, that's perfectly fine, Steve. I mean, I know I kind of get my questions in sometimes too there. I did want to respond to some of the comments that's coming in, and I'm going to take some of these at the bottom here. So Steve S. Kisbaugh, I think I might have butchered your last name. I apologize, but he said they mark bridges like that in Syracuse as well. And also, let's see what Randy here's one, and this Facebook user here, he didn't give permission to use his profile there, but that's Chuck Jernigan. He says there, Randy, do you use chains or cables ever?
So when I first started back in the AF days, the first few years I was there, we had a couple years in a row where we had some bad snow, deep snow, and they wanted us to keep going. They got us chains, and I chained up as a city driver. I didn't get to go fast down the road, but it helped me get in and out of the docks. They were not actual chains. They were the more or less the cable type. But yeah, it's been years since I used those. I think anymore that they would rather, if it gets to be the point where you need chains to do your P&D, it may be time to come in. So that's the way they look at it now. But back then, 25 years ago, I was chaining up to go out in the city. I got you.
So let's move on. We've actually come around the truck on this pre-trip that we're doing on the show here. I kind of reference it to pre-trip. Anyway, let me take down this comment right here. Randy, there's a picture of you with your P&D truck there.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to move on and tell us a little bit about your hobbies outside of work there, Randy.
Well, aviation is, I love it. That's my hobby. That's my money pit. So, I've got myself, 55-year-old Piper Cherokee that I fly. I'm involved in 2 different aviation clubs, the Mansfield Aviation Club. I was president the past 2 years, of that club. We raise money and give away aviation scholarships. I'm in the local EAA 148 club, Experimental Aviation Association. I'm their Young Eagles coordinator, and I'm also their scholarship coordinator for their scholarships as well. So I like getting people involved in aviation. That's kind of my side hobby. I don't spend anywhere near as much time in the plane as I do the truck, quite obviously, but when I got time and the weather cooperates, I like flying, and I like trying to get other people interested in it as well.
Okay.
Aviation there's a lot about aviation that I can bring with me to work that makes me a better driver.
Right. And yeah, and I can just imagine on some of those levels as far as safety, like a pre-flight check and everything, a lot of things can, relate parallel to what you do with trucking also. I do want to play a short video. You didn't know I had this loaded, but
I did.
But you can speak to this, okay? Hey, that's pretty doggone good
Yeah.
landing. You have to think for yourself, man.
Well, thanks. That was my landing at Oshkosh this year. EAA, the National EAA Club, puts on an air show or an aviation event called Air Venture, and it's their 52nd year. I was at the 50 year, and it was a couple years ago. So they've been doing this event for 52 years so far. This year, there were in excess of 600,000 paid attendees to the event over a 7-day period. Over 10,000 airplanes, similar to mine, small. They had big ones too, but the vast majority were small 4-seaters. Fly into that. The people camp there. It's the world's largest aviation event and air show. They have air shows every day. If you're interested in aviation, you've got to go to Oshkosh at the end of July. But real quick, I see a message here from my buddy Mark Corder. How you doing, Mark? Says your son took some folks out to Put-in-Bay today in a PC-12. He said it's a short runway. I flew to Put-in-Bay last night, spent the night, and I flew home from there this morning. I think I left about 11. I didn't get to see him. But I didn't get to see a PC-12 come in there either, but that was pretty cool. It's the runway. There's about 3,000 feet. I've seen small jets come in there. You got to be right on your game to get a small jet in and out of there, though. It depends on what kind of performance it's got. There's a fellow that lives up there who owns a small jet, and he'll fly that in and out of there. There are trees on both ends, but it's 3,000 feet's not. I mean, that's about the same size as the runway in Shelby where I live. The one runway in Mansfield's 9,000 feet, so 3 times that long. That's built for big, heavy planes, though. But thanks for the comment, Mark. I appreciate it.
Let's go to another comment here.
Scott's got one.
Yeah, could you please explain the concept of a stereo cockpit and how it could apply to safe trucking too?
Sure. When it comes to aviation, once you climb into the cockpit and you start doing your pre-flight checks, if this mainly the stereo cockpit idea mainly is for multi-pilot aircraft. When you got a pilot and a first officer flying a 737 somewhere and they're going through their checks, that's where you really want the stereo cockpit. You can't have any small talk going on. You've got to be all business. You've got to use your checklist. You've got to go down and check and make sure you've got the plane configured properly for takeoff. You check fuel quantities or whatever. 737's way beyond what I do, but there's a stereo cockpit. I anyways don't have anybody in the truck with me hardly ever. So I don't have anybody to talk to anyways. But if there's ever somebody that's in the truck with you, and you are in the process of doing your inspections, just ask them to wait until you're done. When you have a routine where you do your pre-trip inspection every day on your tractor, and the guy in the dock next to you comes over and wants to start talking to you, I usually tell them to wait. That it's not actually a stereo cockpit situation, but the whole idea is you don't want to have distractions.
Right.
One of the best things about aviation that I would love to bring to trucking, a lot of truck drivers might not like this, but I am a big fan of a checklist. I've been flying the same plane over and over and over, but I do not ever start that engine without going through my checklist. I've got a book. It's got pre-trip inspection checklists. You got to check everything on the inside of the outside of the airplane. Pre-start checklist, where everything's got to be set, configured, ready to go. A checklist, even if it's just something simple that you would make up yourself to have and be able to pull out when you do your inspection on your truck every day, you would not overlook things, I guess. I like the idea of having a checklist. The guys that fly the big heavy jets, the 737s and whatnot, they've been flying those planes for years, and I guarantee you there's not one of them that does not go through a checklist before he starts that plane up.
Right, right. Let me speak to the listening audience right now. If you want to
Yeah.
call and get any questions in for Randy tonight, the number is 251-616-2151. That is 251-616-2151. So we're starting to round the corner here. We're at 8:45, so we're going to start the post trip of this show, and we're gonna wind it down here in a few minutes. But anyway, y'all get those calls in, and I sure would appreciate it. Randy, I like that concept of a sterile cockpit because it does really relate, somewhat to our trucking industry.
Mhm.
And like you said, if someone comes in and they interrupt you during your pre or post trip, our thing is, we have to start over and begin again.
Mhm.
Really don't want those interruptions, because I mean, you know what? You might forget to put that landing gear down.
Mm.
You might forget to unhook those airlines. Just little things that through a checklist that's uninterrupted can go a long ways.
Mhm. Different phases of flight have checklists as well. I mean, I've got a landing checklist. Before I go to land someplace, I always have to go down through that. And then it's not very long, but it requires you to turn the fuel pump back on and adjust the mixture on the plane. And those are two things that you need to do when you're starting to maneuver in a traffic pattern. So, I mean, checklists, I live by them.
Right.
I think they're a great idea, and if you could make something up that your own personal checklist for your tractor and trailer every morning, just pull it out of your pocket, put it on an index card or something like that. That way you don't overlook stuff. That's a great idea, and it'll keep you safe.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, all right, Steve, come on in here, Steve.
I was just going to agree and say routine, and if you ever get your routine broke, go back and start over. Some guys laugh at me. I drop my dolly, I walk all the way around my rear box, I check the seal, get in the truck, go find my lead, hook up, go all the way around that trailer, check my seal. I button them together, checking them seals again, rechecking everything again. You may find something the first time, you may find something the second time, and don't hesitate, get it fixed. I mean, flying versus trucking, you're what, 10, 15, 30,000 feet in the air?
Oh, me and my little plane, no. I'm high enough to where if I had any issue, it would probably hurt. But
Right.
I can't go that high. My plane, I've had up to 11.5 once. That's it. I usually, I fly to a restaurant to eat. That's about all I use it for. I got no justification for owning it, but I might fly 3,000 feet.
But my whole point is we're dangerous enough in 18 wheels with the problem, with an issue,
Mm-hmm.
not only to ourselves, but to the motoring public. You go getting 5, 6, 8,000 feet off the ground and you miss something and now it goes awry. What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Well, luckily, if you're 8,000 feet off the ground, you've got a lot of time to figure out what you did wrong. They say when it comes to flying, altitude is your friend. The higher you are, the more opportunities you have to find someplace safe to put your plane down. I've got a light airplane. I land mine in the grass all the time, and northern Ohio is flat this time of year. And it's flat. I mean, the crops are up, but once you take those beans off, I could land that plane anywhere. But the higher you are, the more time you have to troubleshoot. The lower altitudes, especially immediately after takeoff, if something would happen where you would lose power, you don't have time to look around. Where can I go? You're going to look straight ahead and say, I'm going there.
Right.
So have you ever encountered a situation where you had to put the plane down real quickly?
No. I never have. I'm crossing my fingers, but it's a machine. Anything can go wrong. It's light. It glides. People, a lot of people have the misconception that as soon as the engine quit, it falls out of the sky like an anvil, and that's just not true. It'll glide. It'll glide and glide and glide. So around here, like I said, I can find someplace, a field to put the thing down in. I land in grass strips all the time, so my plane's used to off airport landings.
Gotcha. Mark Quarter says, same as I lead time, space is your friend.
Exactly. That's right. Yep.
So, I got one last quick question.
Yeah.
Is it in your future, Randy, to possibly, when you retire from trucking, to go into maybe like commercial flying, or I don't know what the right word is, transport flying?
No, I don't think I'd do that. It's a hobby I like doing, and I like flying on nice days, and I like there to be a piece of pie and a cup of coffee on the other end.
There you go.
And when you're flying for money, and the boss says you got to go, and you're flying through bad weather, and it's uncomfortable and unpleasant, and it'll suck the fun right out of it. I keep the two separate. Maybe back when I was 25 or 30, if I would have thought about going aviation for a career, then starting there and moving up, possibly, but that's so far in my rearview mirror. It doesn't matter.
Randy,
it's just a hobby.
Randy, you've been down here to South Georgia. You've ate some of this good Southern cooking.
Yes, sir.
How long will it take you to fly down to Valdosta, Georgia?
Oh, boy.
Well, I need to be picked up, but you can pick Steve up on the way, okay?
Well, that's going to take longer because we've already discussed the fuel issue. You know, I got a lot of capacity right here, and that takes away the fuel. So we got to stop going for fuel.
Small planes have what's called a useful load. So the plane sitting there on the ground my plane has a useful load of about 850 pounds. So I put 50 gallons of fuel in it at 6 pounds a gallon. There's 300 pounds I've used up. So I'm down to 550 pounds of stuff I can put in there. So I climb in, I'm 165, and Steve climbs in, and we're overweight. So we're not be able to come and get you, Tim.
Well, just come and land, and I'll
no
take
offense.
you
No offense, Steve.
I'll come take you somewhere.
No offense, take it.
The thing, my plane will fly about 115 miles an hour. That's airspeed, not ground speed. If I got a tailwind, I'll get there quicker. If I'm flying into the wind, I get there. It takes me longer. But 115 mile an hour. If there was no wind the whole way, I don't know. I don't know how many miles it is from here to Valdosta, but figure a couple fuel stops in there and a potty break. It'd take me quite a while.
Gotcha.
But actually, that flying to Oshkosh that's the farthest I've ever flown my plane. I've flown it up there 3 times, and it's in my plane, it's an 8 to 10 hour round trip, depending on which way the wind's blowing.
That Facebook user there, that's Dave Schroeder.
Hey, Dave.
Yep.
And hey, Chuck. I see Chuck on there too.
Yeah, Chuck's he's been commenting. I threw a couple of his comments on there. He finally got his profile up there like he should. He followed instructions finally. But anyway, long story short, we have come to the post trip and everything's looking good. So we're going to have to bring the show to an end. But before we do that, Randy, we want to thank you for coming on the show tonight. And but before you go, I actually do have another video to play. It's not of you, but I do want to thank all the truck drivers out there. This is a National Truck Driver Appreciation Week. Each one of us in different capacities of the trucking industry, we have a job to do. Some of our jobs are harder than others, but each one of us is an important link in this economy, and it takes every one of us to keep America moving forward. It does.
I'm glad to be a part of that.
So any last words there, Steve?
Randy, thanks for coming on, brother. Good to see you. I just want to bring up congratulations on placing at the TDC. Look forward to seeing you again there.
Yep.
And man, thanks for your info. It was a good time. Well, I think this show could go 2 or 3 hours, and just chit chat. I mean, this is awesome. And it's really interesting how much trucking and flying have in common.
Mm-hmm.
And all the way from a pre-trip to a post-trip to, getting there safely and everything. But thanks again, man. Maybe I'll see you up and down 75 somewhere.
Yeah. That'd be great to see you. I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm sorry it took this long to get on, but I'm glad to be here. Hopefully next time I go on vacation, we'll work this out again.
Absolutely. Well, Randy, thank you for coming on. And I know it was hard to get you on here, but it was worth getting you on here. Okay.
Oh, thank you. I
I
enjoyed it.
So y'all hang tight with me until the end, till we close the show out. I do want to show this 4-minute video before we close it out. And thank you, truck drivers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, drivers. Be
Thanks.
safe.
On the 8th day, God looked down at his creation after making a caretaker and said, I need a relocation specialist. So God made a trucker. God said, I need someone to rise and to sleep at odd hours, check their truck before and after their run to ensure safety for themselves and those around them. Be on time to deliver their freight, but willing to be late to help a fellow driver who broke down in the cold of winter. So God made a trucker. I need someone strong enough to throw chains and tarps, ratchet binders, lock and load bars, change tires, and drive away from home, but soft enough to kiss their loved one, look into their eyes and say, see you when I get back home. Someone who, after securing their load, wiping the sweat from their brow, seeing another driver struggling with theirs, willing to walk over and offer a hand. So God made a trucker. God said, I need someone who will look into their side mirror at their child waving goodbye with a smile, then a sigh, and wipe a tear from their eye, knowing they're doing what they love ultimately for those that they love. Someone to transport livestock with genuine care for their safety. Someone who will offer assistance at the scene of an accident. Call 911 or donate to a cause. So God made a trucker. God needed someone willing to get dirty, covered in oil and grease, bumps and bruises along the way, missing time with family because the repair took longer than expected, or the receiver wouldn't take the load, but would take time to stop what they're doing when they heard a little voice behind them say, can we go outside to play? So God made a trucker. God said, I need someone who can run as a team or by themselves, can pull any trailer with a manual transmission semi, someone to maneuver a dump truck, cement truck, tow truck, or everything in between. Someone who will drive safely, whether on a goat trail, winding 2-lane, gravel driveway, or the interstate. Someone who will drive through a snowstorm, high winds, or a heavy rain to arrive at their destination. Someone with patience to deal with motorists around them, steady hands to shift and to steer, and the heart when there's a crisis to donate their time, their truck, their money, and their fuel to assist strangers who have experienced unfathomable loss and tragedy, to assist in slowly piecing their lives back together again. So God made a trucker.
All right. Well, hey, thank you, truckers out there. I thank you for everything that you've done. Y'all have a good night. See you next week here on Truckers Voices. So anyway, we're going to end like we always do, Steve.
Sounds good. Everybody be safe. Remember the most important trip home.
See See you, Randy.
Agreed. See you guys. Thanks for having me.
Panel, y'all hold tight.
I believe in God, our Father.